Okay, I've got a game for you that I want to share. It's a game where I make a few mistakes, but I think it's a really good game to explain the sort of decisions you should be making in a bit of a furball, and what to do if things don't go too well, when not to give up, and what I'm also going to talk about what I should have done in the situations where I make mistakes. So I think it will be quite interesting, quite informative, rather than just a pub stomp. It's quite a close game, and I think it's a good one to show off. What I'm playing in this game is what I'm trying to theorycraft out a clipper hunting fleet. I've lost so many games to massed shuttles or tugs with rockets that I'm trying to come up with something that can fight them. And I've tried Beam DDs, I've tried Vauxhalls, which are good, but I'm looking for something else. So I'm currently on 2 attack groups of frigates. The frigates hunt together, but in 2 independent groups of 3. And their idea behind them is they can overwhelm the shuttles and the tugs with RPF rounds to start with, keep firing at them while they're launching their rockets, and then we finish up with HE and a couple of missiles because their PD shouldn't be good enough to deal with an overwhelming barrage. Then later on in the game, we can use our remaining missiles and some HE rounds and some AP rounds to help clean up the line ships that are left over. I'm deploying here at the bottom of the map. I think like it's a really good place to deploy an ambushing fleet. I'm thinking that the enemy may put their clippers down here as well, and it means that I'm quite safe from railgun rounds coming in from up near C at the start of the game, which is what I don't want to deal with. My ships can't really combat at that long a range. So here we come in here. The frigates are arranged into 2 formations of 3. Each ship in the formation has a slightly different job. The one in the center of the formation is just a fight ship. Then there's an E-war ship and a command ship. The difference between the E-war ship and the command ship is the E-war ship has jammers, and the command ship has a parallax radar, which is there for burning through any jamming that comes through. You can see here that I'm using shift commands to give my fleets flank and loose formation orders. So if you hold down shift when you've got the main fleet and a formation selected, the orders that you give will be applied to all the ships. And that just means it saves you a lot of micro having to click between all the ships. That includes attack orders, as long as your weapons are named the same thing. I make a slight issue there with my movement command, but I fix that pretty quickly. I think there's a little bit of a frame rate issue at the start of the video there, but it should sort itself out now. I think it's a bit funny when it's doing the load. And just have a quick look at what my teammates have brought with me, with them. Sorry, we've got someone here who's named their ships after what they do, which is a little bit concerning. I wouldn't recommend doing that because when the enemy get a track on you, they can actually see what your ship names are. Which is why I'm using, if you look, the names are pulled out of my Terra Invicta name list, but I've given all of my ships call signs, which only I can see, only teammates can see call signs, which lets me identify them without giving away information to my enemies. You can see here we're cruising along at quite a high speed. We've actually detected something at Echo, which is very early. The frigates that I've got can pretty much flank permanently. They're using radar drives, and they also have a rapid DC team on each one of them, and that can basically let you flank for a very long time without worrying about the damage building up, essentially. Detecting something at E here has thrown my game plan off a little bit because I feel like we need to respond to that quite quickly. I don't want to just sit under the rocks and do nothing about it. So my decision here is that I'm going to poke Stiletto out and have a look at what that is, try and determine what it is, and maybe do something about it. We also detect some, what I assume are missiles, but I will later realize are rockets flying at long range across the battlefield. And then I notice that E launches a whole ton of something as well, which makes me think this is probably a cargo feeder, but it could be an Ocello, or it could be, maybe there could be a group of ships there, and I only got a track on one. So we need to find out a little bit more information without exposing ourselves to too much danger. So what I do is I get Stiletto, and I just tell Stiletto to peek out from under the rock. And the idea here is that they'll be able to get a peek on it, give me some information, then get back into cover under the rock without giving themselves away or taking too much damage. And that's one of the main ways I play this fleet. Unfortunately, things don't go the way I want them to in this game, but if I have another game recorded, I might show you where it goes perfectly for me. That's a total stomp, but I didn't think that would be as interesting to watch, whereas there's a lot of lessons learned in this video. So we've got track 4516 is our first target here. Teammate thinks it's a container ship. I agree as well. I decide to pre-jam it. I decide to pre-lock it. That just means as we come out from under the rock, we're going to be hitting with jamming and with locking. That just means that hopefully it won't see us straight away. And then what I decide to do is I want to fire off one salvo of missiles at this target. By doing that, I'll get a lot of information out of it. If it has PD, I'll be able to see where the PD originates from in the track. If the PD comes from the center of the track, I know it's something small. If the PD comes from outside the track, I know it's a large ship and probably a cargo feeder. Now, I panic slightly here. You can see I set my ships to evade. I order them back under the rock because I assume that missile barrage is intended for them. It's not, so I continue forward. At this point, I'm just checking line of sight for my ships on the enemy because I want to make sure that my ships are not blocked by the asteroid when I fire. I order one barrage of missiles here. These are semi-active radar missiles with a wake homer as well, which does lead to some funny tracking later in the battle, but that's okay. I slightly mistime it. The missile that Stiletto 2 fires actually hits the asteroid, which is a shame. But the other two get through, and this is really a fact-finding missile launch. These missiles are to find out what the enemy PD is like. You can see also that my ships are firing 250 RPF at the enemy. They're just firing them at the enemy's the missiles that they're firing. That's what the RPF is set to do. And all my 450s, all my 250s have RPF in them by default. I see here straight away that there is PD coming from the ship. It has multiple PD, and the PD is coming from quite far laterally from the track. So I know this is a cargo feeder by the size and shape of where the PD is laid out in it. I decide to try and hit it with a barrage from both of my groups because I'm hoping that might overwhelm the PD that it's got. At this point, I then notice track 3376. I'm going to pause the game here. So what I should have done at this point, when I seen track 3376, is pull back. This thing is 4,000 meters away from me. This is very, very close. This is not something that I want to run into. So what I should do here is back off, pull away from the asteroid so it can't ambush me by tricking around the top of it, something like a tug or, sorry for the bang, a tug or a shuttle. But I don't do that. Here's what I do instead. I notice 3376, I panic, and what I do is I queue up jamming and lock on it for both of my groups. But I continue to move just very slowly in the position that I'm in. I've got flank speed set, so I'm not moving that slowly, and I have pulled back a little bit. And then decide to see if my missile attack actually gets through, but it's a little bit too scattered. I should have held fire until all my ships were ready to go and then launched them together, and that's how you overwhelm the PD. What I did not overwhelm it. At this point, we can see that it's a cargo feeder, and the cargo feeder is also now returning fire on me. So I definitely need to get back underneath the asteroid, but you can see my ships are covering themselves with RPF fire, which is going to take down some of the missiles as they come in. Sorry, I just flipped the camera upside down there using Control Shift and Spacebar, because I thought if I was going to get an engagement here with 3376, I was going to be in trouble. Now, the mistake I make here is I order my ships forward to investigate 3376. What I should be doing now is backpedaling really, really quickly. I do not want to get close to a missile shuttle if there is one here. You can see here that we've got a shared PD network of defenders and the RPF rounds from the 450s, and they're working together. We took some friendly fire there, I think, to defeat these missiles, which is great. But while that's been happening, 3376 is getting closer to us. It's now 3,000 meters away. It's actually 2,000 meters away from Dagger 1, and I've let it get way too close. I'm also just messing around with maneuvering orders right now, and then I realize how close that ship is. And at this point, it launches missiles at me. I let it get way, way too close. You should never let a ship get this close without doing something about it. I decide to launch a missile barrage at it from all of my ships. Dagger 1 actually survives that attack amazingly. I think it actually managed to shoot a little bit down. Now, I'm going to quickly pause again. What I should have done at this point is ordered all of my frigates to fire on this target with RPF rounds. Not because the RPF rounds are going to do a lot of damage to the shuttle, which they will penetrate a little bit. The shuttle doesn't have any armor. But what will also happen is if it launches rockets towards them, there will already be RPF rounds in the air on a direct trajectory towards the shuttle, and if they detect a rocket, they will detonate and destroy the rocket. So it's kind of pre-firing your PD, and it has the two bonuses. One, if it detects a rocket, it destroys the rocket. If not, it goes on and it hits the ship. That's what I should be doing. I don't do that. Instead, I launch a missile barrage because I've been caught off guard and I'm panicking. So you can see how that plays out now. I also jam it, but it's too close, really. It's got direct sight. I'm also very surprised that this shuttle has PD. A lot of people don't build their shuttles with PD, and that causes... you can see it shoots down all of my missiles. Dagger 3 is wiped out in one barrage. That whole ship is destroyed. You can see there that 3376 also destroyed that entire missile barrage. Now I order the RPF attack with my ships, and you can see that they're all now firing RPF at it. I decided to order another missile barrage. I am a little bit tilted at this point. Not like massively tilted, but I'm a little like, I just lost a ship and it did nothing. We're also under attack from below, well, from the cargo feeder and Echo. It's also firing missile at us. So we're having to deal with two sources of missiles coming toward us. Now, luckily, our PD network is good, and it deals with them. And because we're pre-firing RPF towards it, you can see how there, it's a perfect example of why you pre-fire the RPF towards the ship. It actually dealt with that whole barrage. And the second barrage is almost completely dealt with as well. So... biggest tip I can give you, pre-fire RPF. At this point, I get a little bit bloodthirsty. I decide to go into the kill. Go for the kill. I switch to HE. And you can see I'm just panicking a little bit. I'm misclicking. Just to slow down a little bit, take this a little bit easier. So we've lost Dagger 3 and Stiletto 3 at this point. 2 ships are dead. 1 cargo shuttle has shown up. And I could have won this engagement really easily if as soon as I saw 3376 getting close, I just fired RPF at it. It would never have gotten those missile barrages off at me. I've also managed to break the formations of my fleet. Stiletto 1 is out of formation right now, which isn't ideal. and I'm just manually ordering it to shoot. And if you look on the screen, you can see there's a lot of stuff going on. 4516 has just been killed, the cargo feeder. And 4136 is now coming around the back of the asteroid in the top right-hand corner of the screen. So I was not aware of 4136 happening. I was a little bit too focused on fixing my formation. This is not the time to be fixing my formation. I should be fighting this battle with everything I've got. I should be pulling backwards away from the rocket, getting as much distance from these shuttles as I can. So 4136 is another rocket shuttle. It comes over the top of the asteroid and launches a missile barrage at Dagger 2 and basically cores Dagger 2 with that whole barrage, because Dagger 2 is not pre-firing RPF. They've got HE loaded, so even the shots they're firing are not committing. It's looking really bad for me right now. I've made a lot of mistakes. Again, I could have won this fight very, very easily. It's obviously very easy to look at that in retrospect, but I can see the mistakes I've made. Now, you can see that 3376 is dead in the water. What I'm thinking is it's expanded its ammunition, and the person who's piloting it doesn't care. You'll also see that I get a full missile barrage out there at 4136. It has no PD. That whole barrage hits it. We've probably just killed it dead in the water. Both of those ships are probably dead at this point, but I decided to shoot them with HE just to see what's going on. We also just lost Dagger 3. So Dagger 2, Dagger 3, and Stiletto 3 are all down to two shuttles, which are worth a fraction of the points of these ships. This is a huge win for my opponents. They're winning massively in the race of points, of actual how many points expenditure, and I'm feeling very embarrassed. If I could say anything else, like even showing you this isn't embarrassing, but there's a reason I'm showing you this video, and there's going to be more to show as we get into it. At this point, I'm trying to fix my formation again because I want to be giving formation commands, but I want Dagger 1 to be the leader of the formation because it's 1 on my keyboard, so it's easier to hotkey. You can see I launched off a couple of missiles at 4136 and 3376 here. I didn't need to do that. These ships were dead. I should have realized they were dead. They're not moving in the water. You can actually see that there's escape pods coming out of 4136 right now. But I'm a little bit just overwhelmed, a little bit scared, and then now I mark them as killed. And I need to tell my ships to stop firing at them as well. At this point, I turn the camera back over and I'm like, right, what can I do to help out? Teammates have already called for me to move to A, so I'm going to get Stiletto 1, Dagger 1, and Stiletto 2 over to A, and at least try and cap that point and do something to help my team. Now, looking at A, it's uncapped at the moment. I let my team know that I'm moving to A, so at least they're aware that that's happening. You can see on the top of the screen, there's loads of missile tracks happening. The combat at the top is pretty crazy. We've had our own drama down here. The enemy have definitely won this engagement down here. I've come out of it alive, but I've lost 3 ships. That's something like a crew of 500 or something are now without a ship. So I'm just taking a second here to take stock and work out what I've got. I'm literally just looking around at what I have and thinking. And then I look... Actually, I was telling Discord that I lost 2 shuttles. That's what I was doing there. I was telling Discord that I lost 2 shuttles. I'm trying to tell my ships to cease fire, but I'm not holding down shift, so they're going to give me a cease fire command to Dagger 1, not to Stiletto 2. I also haven't noticed really that Stiletto 2 isn't moving yet. I tell them to stop flanking for now because they've already taken a little bit of damage. You can see here we've got 2 tracks, 8140 and 2484 heading down to A. I made note of that at the time. I'm checking to see how many missiles I have left as well, but I'm not holding down shift, so I'm not seeing all of the missiles. I then notice that Stiletto 2 is quite far behind my other 2 ships. Click on it, and I realize it's got no engine. That ship is also dead. Because it's stuck under an asteroid, it's not going to be able to help out for the rest of the battle. And it has 8 missiles on it, and those 8 missiles aren't going to do anything. It hasn't even got line of sight on E. Really frustrating. I've lost more stuff. I'm trying so hard not to get tilted here. Okay. But I'm still in the game, and I'm still saying, what can I do to help out? How can I bring this game back? How can I be useful to my team? How can I stop this from happening? We have a slight cap advantage right now. If we can take A, we can push that cap advantage. And what happens in this game at the moment that I've noticed from all my games of ANS versus OSP is if the OSP get an early cap advantage, they generally win. But if the Alliance manage to get a cap advantage and hold it, they can win very easily. The Alliance are a better defensive faction. The OSP are all about aggression and ambushing. If the Alliance can set up in good positions and hold their points, they can win the game. So if we get our cap advantage here, we could do this. I could actually make a difference in this game. Now, one thing we're looking at is there's 2 cargo feeders here. Cargo feeders are a big problem for my fleet. They have 40 centimeters of armor, and I only have 250mm guns. I can only penetrate that armor with AP rounds, and the AP rounds don't do that much damage once they penetrate it. So I'm a little bit stuck here. I've put a hold order on my weapons board so that I'm not pre-firing before I've got line of sight on these ships. I'm ordering Dagger 1 to move up on the asteroid, just having a little bit of trouble with the angle here. And what I'm going to do is just try and do as much damage to them as I can and move in on A at the same time to cap it. Stiletto 2 is coming along with us. Sorry, Stiletto 1 is coming along with us, but Stiletto 2 is out of action. What I do still have is 26 missiles along the 3 ships that I have selected. You can also see here that my teammates are raking them with missiles as well. These cargo feeders have already taken a lot of damage. But I decide to join in on this, so I take my hold fire off when I've got target. And I think I also launch a missile barrage on them as well, just to help out. This is quite an important move by the enemy. They commit these 2 cargo feeders to take Alpha. They're unsupported, and they just get picked apart by my entire team shooting at them in the open. Cargo feeders are tough, but very slow and very easy to hit. Just slightly misclicking here. Remember to right-click on my target. And I'm just firing missiles from Dagger 1 right now because it's the only one that has got line of sight. Stiletto 1 is still coming up over the asteroid. I just decided to fire off a whole full barrage because I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to hold on to these missiles for, and I don't want to miss out on an opportunity to use them before the game ends. So you can see the missiles are coming out now. There's no PD on these ships. I already know that. I've noticed that before. They're probably already dead at this point. They look dead, but this will finish them off for sure. And it's kind of an uptrade for me. I know my teammates are helping out, but if I can take out these 2 cargo feeders, or at least help take out these 2 cargo feeders, then it's not as bad that I've lost so many ships to the shuttles. It's still bad, but it's not as bad. Basically, the more I can leverage with what I've got left, the more I can make up. So I've already noticed now that one of the ships is launching escape pods, so we can mark that one as killed. An 814 is probably dead as well, if we think about it. So I think I marked that one as killed in a second as well. That one is definitely dead. And I'm now we've now stopped the cap on A. Ooh, it's actually crazy watching this back how many mistakes I made. I made so many mistakes in this battle, which is funny because I've been doing really well all day, probably because I'm tired, but that's the kind of battle that you learn more from than the ones you just win. So at this point, I'm just jamming what's left of that ship just in case, or in case it's giving information to my team, and then you hear, watch out missiles. Here come the missiles. I tell my ships to cease fire, so they're going to try and get some RPF. Tell them to move. I think these are Seekers. These are actually rockets. But that first set of rockets just hits Dagger 1 bang on. That's just... I can't even talk about how horrible that missile strike was. It came in from across the battlefield. Those are rockets as well, not missiles. And now I'm left with just Stiletto 1. Stiletto 1 is the only ship I have left in this game. So let's see what I can do with Stiletto 1 to finish this battle. I'm obviously not going to be able to contribute massively. I'm not going to be able to kill any line ships. But what I can do is cap A, which is what I'm doing right now. Just like I'm keeping my team aware of what's going on. There's more missiles incoming. I've switched over Stiletto to evade. That was me about to shout, Stiletto, no. But Stiletto is doing its job. You can see it's firing its RPF. It's firing its defender. And it's actually dodging these rocket strikes. They are not guided. These are unguided rocket strikes. If I keep moving, I realize they can't hit me. And it looks like my opponent has a lot of rockets to spend. So I've got the A cap, and I start now putting pathing orders around A. I decide that what I'm going to do is just do my best to hold A for now, and keep the enemy off it, because we now have a 4 cap advantage. So for me, this battle is going really, really badly. But for the entire strategic area, we're winning. Yeah, I've got A, but all I have left is 1 frigate. You can see there's just a lot of crazy stuff happening further up. That's a lot of missiles incoming, rockets incoming, I think, on me, possibly. Oh yeah, they are there. So someone is still firing rockets at me. Stiletto is just threading the needle here, not taking the rocket hits it needs. Having these ships on evasive and movement actually makes them really hard to hit. It slows them down a little bit, but they're constantly changing their vector, and it just messes around with your opponent really, really... Especially if they're trying to fire dumbfire weapons at a long range like that. A frigate's too fast to take those hits. See how far behind the second barrage is? It's nowhere near. I actually worried there that I might have killed the ship by giving the move command and it slowing down to take the hit, but we're okay. I take flank speed off here as well. I don't want to lose the engine on my last ship. You can see that Stiletto 1 here isn't actually that badly damaged. So here I just give a big waypoint around A so I can spend a little bit of time taking stock of the rest of the battlefield. And I can see here that it's 8208 that it's firing at me with those rockets. It's a cargo feeder. It's mostly a rocket cargo feeder, which is not something I've seen before. It could have a mixture of container missiles and rockets. But it is what's doing a lot of attacks on me right now. They're not doing much. You can see there's a big group of enemies up near C. There's also another group near C. Now, at this point, the OSP players really need to commit to capping quite hard, because we're about to get a 5 cap on them, which is a terrible situation for them to be in. Unfortunately, that's not what they do right now. And this is what I'm talking about. They can't afford to just try and duel it out with the Alliance, because their ambush weapons are great, but the Alliance have the durability to, if they survive these attacks, you might have a zombie Solomon on this battle that could just bring it back to life, and then they don't have those weapons anymore to deal the damage. So I can see there's a Othello up here as well, in my line of sight, and we've still got these two tracks here. Now, I call these out here in team chat as decoys. But what's actually happened is 828 has died. And those are escape pods. I realized that after I sent the message. So trying to keep my team up to date, trying to give them intel, trying to just let them know what's happening. Give them a bit of wrong information there, but I update that now and say, oh, I saw the feeder launch them. And then I say, oh, wait, the feeder's dead. And I just like, egg on face. Feeder's dead. Those are lifeboats. There's me seeing the lifeboat there. Oh lol, they're lifeboats. You notice that Thunder 1 has started firing again. No, something on the other side of the rocket started firing. That lets me look up, and I see that 7934 is 3,000 meters away. It's a tugboat. This is exactly what I'm being designed to kill. That tugboat is making a burn for A to try and cap A. Someone on the OSP team has realized they need to get capping. So I realized this is my chance to shine. I can actually do something about this. So I order a missile barrage on it. You notice I'm not ordering the RPF to fire on it. This is a mistake I make all the way through this game. I should be firing at it with RPF right now, because if it launches rockets at me, that's fine. But what I do is I decide to shoot at it with HE. And I've decided that it doesn't have rockets, even though I haven't looked at it. It does have PD. There's another rocket barrage coming in from the top left corner of the screen as well, but the Stiletto 1 is going to avoid that. And Stiletto 1 is basically engaging this ship. I mark it as priority for my team as well. It looks like that last rocket, I don't know what happened there, but it just turned in at the last second. I assume they're rockets, maybe they're size 1 missiles. I didn't remember that one tracking in. They might be size 1 missiles that they're firing rather than rockets. Oh, just slight misclick there. I'm going to fire off another couple of missiles, I think. I decided not to do it. I decided to hold on to them just in case, because this tug is taking a lot of damage. I decided to actually launch at that Othello to see what it's got going. Again, my issue is I don't want to hold on to my missiles for too much longer, because I only have one ship left, and if I lose it and they're still in the missile bay, I've wasted the points. And I've already wasted a lot of points this game. The Stiletto 1 is firing. We're also getting backed up by our teammate. What ends up happening here, interestingly, is a lot of my missiles actually, I think, retarget onto... Yeah, they retarget onto the cargo ship. I think it's because... I think it's just when the radar seekers come on, that's what they detect. I think it's why you maybe need spotlights instead. But the missiles are fine for what they do. They just unfortunately all go for the cargo feeder. One of them almost hits the tug, but it wouldn't have activated yet anyway. What I'm trying to do now is actually get the tug between me and these incoming rockets a little bit, so that I'm not taking the hits. But that tug is dead in the water. You can see they're not capping A anymore. It's just wrecked. The allied fire on it has done a number on it. I just go back to circling A. What I am doing is drawing a lot of fire, and if they're firing at me, that's probably a good thing, because they're not firing at my teammates who still have ships. You can see that was a gun tugboat. With a radar as well. The long search radar. I decided that Othello is pretty much in range. I could maybe engage it. All I've got to engage it with is 250mm AP, but I want to try and help out as much as I can, and that is something I can do. So I decided to shoot at it with my 120mm AP, because I know that the tugboat is dead. It hasn't launched any lifeboats yet, but I'm pretty sure it's dead in the water. And at that point it goes dead. I don't know if one of my teammates marked it as killed, but it's gone. It also, I don't think, launched any lifeboats at all. So I'm now just plugging away with my 250mm AP. It's not going to do a lot of damage, but hopefully it might do something. It could damage a weapon. I was thinking about marking it as a priority target, but I decided not to. I did think about warning about it as well, but I decided not to, because I assumed it was burning down for either A or E. And I just, again, tell my team that it's moving on A, that there's an Othello potentially moving for A. But my teammates, as you can see, are already engaging. They're firing missiles at it. It's launching... This is a crazy track situation. This is me picking up all of its... They're either rockets or missiles. I'm not sure what it was firing. Maybe check that in the after game report. At this point, I'm looking at the points and I'm thinking, we've got this. If we can hold this for a little bit longer, and we've got this. You can see there's still a huge slugfight happening up at sea. But if we can keep them at sea, we've won the game. So I tell my team, just keep them busy at sea. Don't get them off. I know I'm not really able to do much, but maybe the encouragement might help them. Rather than getting frustrated, I'm trying to be positive, trying to pass on some positive messages. I'm checking to see if I'm actually hitting with my AP, and that shot missed, but the one before it hit, so I'm doing something. Yeah, 100mm monitors are quite scary. And again, I'm telling my team we should keep them there, and we've got this because we're 300, almost 300. We're actually 300 points ahead on the cap. And this is something, if you're an OSP player, you really need to keep an eye on. You really need to get on top of your cap game, because I played 6 or 7 games today, and in almost all of them, it came down to the fact that the OSP had not capped, and they could have won a lot of these games if they had. Just checking some other stuff out. I thought this missile was going to make it through, and it does. You can see the sprint finish. Nice hit. That Ocello just got wrecked by that, and more hits it as well. That Ocello only has flak as well. You look at that. Look at that explosion. Again, just trying to be positive to my teammates. Always spread positivity rather than negativity is my kind of mantra. And that was a really good strike, and I was really happy I caught it. And we unfortunately decide that it's dead at this point, and it's not dead. I'm just seeing if Stiletto 2 can do anything. It can't. Just Stiletto 1 is all that's left. But we're now at 700 points to 370 points. So we're really pushing hard for the victory here. All that we've got to know that is active for the enemy is their big group of ships all the way at the top of the map at sea. So at this point, I think I can probably start heading northward, not northwards, but up on the map a little bit, because I don't need to worry about them coming south. Now, there's the Ocello there, but it looks like it's dead in the water. It's not really moving. So I decided to move into range of my AP just to fire at it. It's moving very, very slowly. My thought is it might be dead. But apparently the monitors are moving towards D, which is something we need to be on top of as well.
We can't reach that far.
So I tell Stiletto to move 4 up. Oh, I write 8845 instead of 9455, but whatever. It was the puppy sighing there, not me. It's kind of calmed down a little bit, and now things are calmed down. I think I'm playing a lot better. Even though I've only got the one ship, I'm trying to be as aware of the situation outside sea as I can to keep my team up to date.
Go ahead.
I decided to shoot it with AP just in case it is alive. You can see my teammate has also locked it for me. They are firing it with AP as well. Looks like they're also using 250 AP. I'm just seeing what else is going on. We've got 552, which is an interesting position. Just kind of nuzzled into the top of that asteroid there. It's a good ambush spot there if everyone comes past the asteroid. This ship graveyard we've got at A is pretty cool, especially those 2 cargo feeders that have crashed into each other. I'm wondering what's going on with the firing here. What I don't realize is the Mark 64s are looking for a firing solution. So I try to tell them to fire again just as they start to fire. I always try to keep my ships moving laterally when they're engaging, just to add a little bit of difficulty to any shots that come at them. But we're pretty sure that 9945 is dead. At this point, I can see that there's 3 tracks moving down the map there, and there's also some maps all the way over by the Piccolo. So I decide to try and come up and help. If they're shooting at my Stiletto, then I'm doing something. So I just give it a move order to move up the map.
How can we help today, Commander?
There goes, something goes up. And then I noticed that there's actually a bulk freighter there, which I can pen with my HE round, so I decided to attack it. I also mark it as a priority target because it is actually pushing hard for B. For D, for Delta. And if it gets there, we'll get the cap on it. Now, my teammates are already firing on it. I'm firing on it as well. It's a broadside freighter, and unfortunately, it's facing away from its targets. A roll command would have really helped it out there, so it could still engage while it's going. It may not have very good roll capabilities, though, depending on what engines it has on it and what the position of its thrusters are. Suddenly realized that Ocello is still alive. It just started firing rockets or missiles again. Which is a bit of a problem, but if it's dead in the water, then it's not going to cap right now, so it's not as much of a priority as 220.
On the way, Commander.
At this point, I decide I probably need to push for B, push for D to try and contest the cap, even though I'm quite far away from it. 7,000 meters away is pretty far. But I hit flank speed, and I'd give a movement order over to D in an attempt just to try and contest that cap. There's still a lot of rockets and missiles being fired. The this light cruiser here. Really nice to see the 2 defenders it's got just to defeat the entire barrage that is going to hit it, and then it just dodges the rest of it. That's some quality footage right there, I feel. And again, just spreading some positivity, just telling my opponent my teammate that was really cool to see. Good work. If I can't spread ship attacks, then I'll at least try and make people feel that they're really good. So I'm pushing on to D here. Stiletto 1 is still firing away. Stiletto 1 hasn't probably stopped firing in this last time. Did give a great movement command there, so I keep moving forward with it as well. And you can see that 220 is taking a lot of fire, but it's still got its engines running, and it is capping. It's about to finish capping D. But we are 900 points to 400 points, so even though I suffered such a massive loss at the start of the game, I think tying up those 2 shuttles may have stopped a lot of rockets from hitting more important ships in the rest of the fleet. That could have been something for it. There is also a ship here pushing hard for A. Another bulk freighter, another 450mm broadside freighter. Again, I inform my team, keep them up to date. Keep firing at 220. 220 looks dead in the water now. And there's also at the top of the screen there, you can see there's a corvette moving in on Delta as well. We've got 3 points to their 2. We're at 956 points. We're very far ahead. At this point, I decide to turn back and support A. There's not much I can do, but I wonder if I can contest the point on A. We're already capping D with the corvette, so they don't really need me there anymore. So what I decide to do is turn around and go back and try and support Alpha, because that's the one place I could potentially make a difference, whereas I'm not going to make a difference at D. One of our opponents surrendered at this point. They can see the writing on the wall, which is fair enough.
It'll be done, Commander. So
the other one has to reverse thrust, which unfortunately is a little bit of an awkward maneuver, but I really do need it to go back exactly the direction it was coming in, so there's not really much else of an order I can give it. It's faster to do that than turn with this particular ship and drive setup. And at this point, we start dropping the GGs. And we've won the game through a massive cap victory, even though it was pretty nasty in terms of how I suffered. And the biggest takeaway, really, to take away from this is that if you're running a fleet like this, and you have RPF to deal with rocket shuttles, pre-fire that RPF. It would have made such a difference for me. I probably wouldn't have lost any ships to those shuttles if I'd been pre-firing my RPF at them. But unfortunately, I didn't do that, and that was the big mistake that I made. But at least I stayed in the game, and I tried to do what I could. I think Stiletto 1 capping A maybe wasn't the game changer, but it definitely helped out a lot. If you have a look at, the post-battle screen here, it's going to pop up in a second. You can see what impact, if small, that Stiletto 1 actually ended up having. So Stiletto 1 is the Fire of Mithra, and if we check the battle report here, I'll scroll down, I'll look at it in a second. You can see that if we scroll down, the Fire of Mithra ended up doing 7,984 damage, which I'm pretty happy with. For a frigate to do that much damage is pretty cool. So that's me screenshotting it to show people in Discord, like, this is my outcome, this is a really hard game. I definitely made some really big mistakes here. The biggest takeaways are, if you're trying to hunt shuttles and tugs, don't give them a great ambush opportunity. I was too close into the rocks there. I should have been using the rocks to block, but I also should have been off them, so I would get a better angle of them coming around. I cut my viewpoint off too much by hugging the rock too tightly, and that caused me a lot of problems. I'm just checking here to see how many missiles hit, which isn't that many of them. But I did get a few through. And all in all, I actually had a lot of fun that game, even though I got a little bit upset at the start of it because I was struggling a lot. The end result was really, really nice. I hope that this video has been entertaining and hopefully in some way educational, that it's going to give you a little bit of an insight into what I think about when I'm playing a game. I've tried to do live commentary on these, and it's tough. I could do a live commentary if you prefer to see that, but I also wanted to see, you know, how you can lose your whole fleet and still come out on top. What I have not shown you is a solution to rockets, which is what I want to try and get you next. If you would like to see me completely stomp a team, let me know. I've got a video of that I haven't released because I didn't think it would be that exciting. But if you want to see that, I'll release that for you. Otherwise, I'll keep playing until I get that right video. But I wanted to get this out just to show you what I'm playing with. Let me know if you want a breakdown of the fleet as well, if you're interested in giving it a try. Maybe wait until I show you a good victory with it first. I don't know. Anyway, for now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.